ACTA's Heroes of Intellectual Freedom Award recognizes members of the academic community who protect and foster the diversity of viewpoints that is the lifeblood of liberal education. It's a privilege and a pleasure to introduce this year's honoree, my dear friend, Pano Kanelos. Pano is the first recipient of this award to have founded a new university. Like the 12 men and women who preceded him, he has courageously defended academic freedom and intellectual diversity. But a founder must also see things whole, and it is the wholeness of his vision and the wholesome energy of his being that makes Pano particularly deserving of recognition as a hero of intellectual freedom. When we were building the University of Austin, Pano was fond of saying that we would bring transcendence back to higher education. For if higher education means anything, it means one that is concerned with higher things, not just means, but ultimate ends, and with the eternal questions that concern us precisely insofar as we are human. But colleges and universities have, within our lifetimes, lost their yeasty elevation and much of their intellectual spirit and vitality, leaving them a flatter, harder, more brittle version of their former expansive selves. And it was to combat this leveling that Pano stepped up to be the primary founder of the University of Austin. Plato taught that the journey of education from ignorance to these sunlit uplands of truth and being is powered by questions asked in wonder. Elie Wiesel wrote in Night that man comes closer to God through the questions he asks him. But today, universities are as likely to dampen the upward motion of the soul or mind as they are to quicken it. Political pressures have limited the kinds of questions students and professors are permitted to ask, while the soil in which good questions may take root and sprout shows signs of intellectual exhaustion. Interlocking ideological pieties restrict the range of faculty candidates that can be hired and promoted, the types of research that can be published, and the perspectives and arguments. The types of research that can be funded and the perspectives and arguments that can be published. Worse, the liberal arts have become an afterthought in much of undergraduate and graduate education, and are too often taught by professors who are more inclined to criticize the great books, works of art, and ideas they are teaching, including scientific ones, than to let them speak for themselves. Given this situation, the viewpoint diversity that ACTA celebrates is vitally important. Yet it can do only so much. Just as important, I think, is to reestablish at the heart of higher education the anthropology that I take to be implicit in Pano's quest to bring transcendence back to American universities. By anthropology, I don't mean a scientific or systematic account of man. I mean the shared intuitions of the philosophical and theological traditions that originated in Athens and Jerusalem. According to this common understanding, the universe is a mysteriously ordered whole to which man of all terrestrial beings is uniquely open. This openness belongs among the highest goods, things good in themselves and for their consequences. It makes possible the pure pleasures of knowing. It allows us to register within the limits of our human capacities what is eternally and what exists in time, and to organize the chaos of our souls by attuning ourselves to ultimate measures of truth and meaning. No less important, it enables the formation of communities united in St. Augustine's felicitous phrase by concord regarding loved things held in common. Some might regard this anthropology as just another dogmatic academic piety. In fact, it is a hypothesis in the Platonic sense, a springboard for the energetic exploration of fundamental questions, and the common ground of communities of teaching and learning that aim to form whole adults equipped to flourish. Much of that formation occurs in the classroom, the library, the lab, and the office, where students and professors share in the pursuit of two inseparable kinds of questionable and debatable knowledge: knowledge of self and of the parts and whole of reality. The best students leave high school thirsting to puzzle out the mysteries of man and world, and to experience the very special dialogical wakefulness of really good undergraduate classes. When Pano was just starting out as president of St. John's College, he struck up a conversation with a brand new freshman. "What are you interested in studying?" he asked him. "Computer science," the student answered. Uh-oh, Pano thought. How do I break it to this kid? "You know," he said, "you can't specialize in computer science at St. John's." "That's okay," the student replied. "Computers serve human beings, so it seems like a good idea to begin by learning what a human being is." Can you imagine how delighted Pano must have been to hear this? Pano is a lover of Shakespeare, a scholar of the bard, and a poet in his own right. He is also actively and enthusiastically Eastern Orthodox. He has spent his whole life learning what a human being is. Always joyfully, but often through suffering. He has, after all, been a university administrator. Having studied at the feet of the masters, whose teachings will echo for ages of ages, and having learned in the old tragic way of suffering, or pathemathos, Pano knows as well as anyone that man is broad and muddled, attracted simultaneously to goodness, beauty, and truth, and evil, ugliness, and falsehood, and therefore apt to confuse the lowest depths with the highest heights. His learning and experience have fitted him perfectly for past presidencies of two remarkable colleges and universities, launched in 1696 and 2024, that bookend the rich and distinctively American tradition of liberal arts education. And it is in his deep and hard-won knowledge, manifested in constructive action, that Pano models a full and upright humanity, not just in his academic leadership, but in every role and community he inhabits on the great stage of our little lives. Let me explain. We embodied human souls resemble spinning tops that move, often in seemingly random ways, across the floor of the world. Our inner rotational motion is almost physically gyroscopic, a combination of the Greek words gyros and skopeo, that means turning and looking around. This searching panoptic activity makes it possible to find our way through the world. But it is the angular momentum, the mass and velocity, the energy of the individual psyche that matters. That energy, generated at first by innate Karamazovian life forces, by primal instincts and appetites, and then maybe, if all goes well, by things like love and friendship and the yearning to know and to create, is the source of whatever stability we possess in this life. But if this energy wanes and is not replenished, we begin, intellectually, morally, spiritually, and psychologically, to wobble, and finally to collapse. This is the essential condition of far too many Americans, and of many civically essential institutions as well. Now, the most striking thing about Pano is his joyful energy, his infectious zest for life, expressed in wonder, grace, and gratitude. Yet, nevertheless, reflecting his understanding that man does not live by heavenly bread alone. The first in his family to go to college, he grew up in the back of a Greek restaurant, where he began his journey to exceptional chefhood. He and his lovely wife, Christina, host dinner parties celebrated for their warm fellowship, good conversation, fine wine, and Pano's Mediterranean feasts, graced on occasion by the presence of their children, Emmy and Theo. And this is where, had I sufficient wit, I would have inserted a food joke about the heroes of intellectual freedom. What I mean to say is this. At home, in his church, on campus, and In the broad, but, as David Lodge has it, small world of higher education, Pano excels at creating communities of active and reciprocal friendship and love, true charging stations of heart and mind, body and soul. And what, in our confused and troubled time, could be more important than that?